Hey, Magic Tankin here. Today we'll be reviewing the MTG Zendikar Rising Precons. Now I know I've been pretty inconsistent in the past few years with videos and all, so now I'm going to try to release one video a week. Maybe some weeks I won't have a video, but hopefully I will every week. Now, on to the review.
Hi, I'm Marco, or my username is Marco Sharko. I'm a friend of Magic Tankin, and today I'm going to be evaluating these Precon commander decks. I'm going to see how good they are, if they are well priced, and overall just how good they are and whether they're worth to buy it or not. So this year, alongside Zendikar Rising, they're releasing two Precon commander decks. Except these commander decks are supposed to replace the Planeswalker decks that we've usually gone with sets. They also did this back with Ikoria, where they released 5 Precons to replace the Planeswalker decks. This time, they're only releasing 2 commander decks to replace 2 Planeswalker decks. But, I don't know about you guys, but at my LGS, they're selling both of the Precons in a package for $50 Canadian. So these decks have actually been downsized in price from $50 Canadian to $25 Canadian each. So they're actually really cheap. Does this mean that the decks are going to be worse or better? Well, that's what we're here to find out. So, the two commander decks, one is called Land's Wrath, the other one, Sneak Attack. So, the commander for Land's Wrath is called Ubin Muldaya Ancestor. He is 1 white, green, red for a legendary creature, Elf Spirit. It's a 3/3 creature, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, up to 1 target land you control becomes an XX elemental creature with trample and haste until end turn, where X is his power. It's still a land. And then it also has a landfall. Whenever a land is back under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So this deck, after looking at it, it's got a lot of landfall creatures. It's all about just getting lands into play. And Oben, just on his own, grows over the game and can make one of your lands really big and smash. So, yeah, it's a landfall deck that also can amass a big army of creatures. The second deck, Sneak Attack, the commander is Anowone the Ruin Thief. He is 2 black-blue, so the same mana cost, 4, for a legendary creature Vampire Rogue. He's a 2/4, and other rogues you control get +1/+1, so he's a 4-mana rogue lord, and whenever one or more rogues you control deal combat damage to a player, that player mills a card for each 1 damage dealt to them. If the player mills at least 1 creature card this way, which is very likely considering creatures are most popular card type, you draw a card. And of course, to mill a card, that's to put the top card of an opponent's library into their graveyard. Note, this can only draw you 1 card. So even if you mill 10 creatures, you only draw 1 card. So this deck is a rogue tribal deck that and also has a lot of card draw, and it also takes advantage of the graveyard. So it's got a lot of unblockable rogues, so it can get in for lots of damage with those unblockable rogues, and flying like 1/1 rogue fairy tokens. And it has lots of card draw, including the commander, and it also has quite a lot of like reanimation spells that can take advantage of the graveyard. Personally, I like this deck better, and I'll get more into that later. Now I'm going to go back to the Land's Wrath deck. So we've looked over the deck and we've gotten the stats for the deck. So the Land's Wrath deck, in terms of mana ramp, has 19 ramp spells. 19. This deck has a lot of ramp. A lot. Though it's appropriate for a deck. Like, I had a similar deck, the Windgrace Precon. It had a lot of mana ramp too. And this deck is actually like very similar to that deck. So, this 19 mana ramp, though it is a lot, I think it's appropriate for a deck. It's only got 2 board wipes in it. Here, I can actually show them to you. It's got Hour of Revelation and Planar Outburst. They got a couple stuff, but they're essentially just destroy all non-land permanents. Honestly, they're not really that great board wipes, and with only 2, it doesn't really exceed in board wipes. But moving on, it has 10 target removal spells. That's actually pretty impressive. And not to mention, a lot of their removal in this deck is also efficient removal. There's even this card here, Condemn. Condemn, which is very similar to Source of Plowshares, which I'm actually pretty surprised to see. It's essentially Source of Plowshares, but only for an attacking creature. Anyway, and then it's also got 11 card draw spells. This deck actually has quite a lot of card draw. The other deck has a lot more card draw, but it's got a sufficient amount of card draw. And it has 15 landfall cards, plus the commander, that's 16 landfall cards. I don't know, I mean, I was expecting a bit more landfall, but that does seem okay. So overall, I'd say it's pretty well balanced, except for the fact that there's lots of ramp, but it's appropriate. Doesn't really, it lacks a lot in board wipes. But the target removal and card draw is good, and the landfall is pretty good. In terms of cards notes, it's got, well, since we're adding white to this landfall deck, you got the full angel package, removal, token creator, and revival. It's got Suntide in the deck, which is a bit of a weird inclusion. I don't know, it doesn't really fit with the deck that well. Multani's a great card. It's actually really good in this deck, because you're going to have so many lands, and so it's going to be really easy to just bounce 2 lands to your hand, but that'll also trigger landfall on your landfall cards, again, by playing those 2 lands again. This card is deceptively good in the deck. Maybe not deceptively. Rampaging Baloth is absolutely amazing in this deck. I haven't played with this deck, but I can tell this card is going to be awesome in it. Just creating a 4/4, minimum probably 1 every turn, but probably a lot more. That's going to be a great card. Living Twister, I don't know if it's that good. I guess it's good because you can return a tap land you control to your hand and get another landfall trigger. I think it's a bit of a weird inclusion. It has Omnath Locus of Rage in the deck, which is actually really amazing because this Omnath at my LGS costs around $12 to $13, and the deck costs $25. This thing is like the price of half the deck. And the fact of getting a reprinting of it is very nice. So I'm super happy about this inclusion. I want to get the deck just because of this. Core cards. Okay, I have to say something really quick about this card. If you're gonna play this deck, just take this card out. This card sucks. Do not play with this card. It sucks so much. Alright? Before you play with this deck, replace this with either a Wood Elves, or a Migration Path, or an Explosive Vegetation. Just anything but this card. Alright? Do not play this card. They're reprinting Beanstalk Giant in this, which I'm really surprised about, because like when you think about it, did you really expect them to ever reprint any adventure cards? It's gonna seem weird just seeing an expansion symbol right here that's not Throne of Rain. That's gonna be pretty weird. This card isn't that great in the deck. I don't know, I might be wrong about that, but it doesn't look that great. Evolution Sage. Actually, right before we were going to record this video, I realized that this card is actually deceptively good in the deck. There's not a whole lot of counters, but the commander himself puts counters on creatures. So this thing can proliferate those counters. So this card is actually, again, deceptively good in this deck. Definitely do not take this card out. Ferlid. Classic. Spore Mound. I think it's underrated. I think it's really good. One of my friends has a Yarok landfall deck. This card's really good in it. So, yeah, this card, I think it'll be okay. Sorceries, 2 board wipes. And this is Renewal. I don't like it that much. I don't know if it's that great in the deck, though it could get lots of landfall triggers in 1 turn. Circuitous Route, great card in this deck. Harmonize, fantastic, Kodama's Reach. Ground Assault could be great in this deck. 2-mana sorcery that just destroys anything because you'll have an infinite lands. Treacherous Terrain isn't that good though. Instance, Return of the Wild Speaker is a fantastic card. Just in any green deck. Just add this to any green deck. It'll be good. Good finisher, or can just draw you crap ton of cards. It's great. Source of Plowshares, but slightly worse. Crush Contraband, that's okay. Harrow. Inspiring Call. Yeah, I don't know if there's actually that much counters going on here. I think there's a bit going on, so this card could be good. And actually, they have the Tuskar Captain, which gives stuff counters. And up here there is the Avzan Falconer. So I think this deck also has a bit of a +1/+1 counter kind of synergy going on. I think that would be pretty interesting. Oh, Elite Scale Guard. So yeah. Naya Charm, great card. Yeah, this is pretty efficient. 5 mana to just exile 2 artifacts and enchantments, but also with basic land cycling. This card actually is deceptively good. Artifacts, Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, Staples, and Seer Sundial. This card, I imagine it'll be okay in deck, but I just personally don't like it. It can just draw you a bunch of cards. It's okay, but personally, I'm gonna take it out. But it's totally up to you if you want to keep this in. It's not that bad. Rise of Flourishing is an odd inclusion. It's a 3-mana enchantment, and essentially just gives everyone extra cards every turn, and everyone additional land drops. So I don't know. It's more like not Super Friends. It's Planeswalkers, but like a friendly kind of deck. I forget what it's called. Can't remember, but yeah, a bit of an odd inclusion. Banishing Light, Retreat to Emeria. I like this card in deck. That one turn where you have a bunch of creatures and are just ready to finish the game, this can be amazing. Because if you cast something like you play your land for turn, give all your creatures +1/+1, then you play Nissa's Renewal, and they can give your creatures an additional +3/+3. So Retreat to Emeria can be a great finisher for this deck. Zendikar's Royal is amazing in this deck, at least I think. Enchantment that'll just pump out 2/2 tokens. There's a lot of token generators landfall. Like we got Emeria Angel makes 1/1 flyers. Rampaging Balos makes 4/4s. Omnath makes 5/5 tokens. There are a couple others. Oh, this thing can also make your lands into creatures until end turn. Spore Mound makes you 1/1 tokens. Zendikar's Royal makes you 2. Like, yeah, there's a lot of token generators here. Retreat to Emeria could be great in this deck. Oh yeah, there's 5 cards from each deck that we can't see, so I didn't include those. The lands. There's 37 lands, which I think there should be a lot more. My Windgrace Commander deck had over 40 lands. I think like 45 lands or something like that. This deck, I think, should have more lands. And I'm just going to say right now, this land base is playable, but really, really bad. It's got Needle Spires, Blighted Woodland, Command Tower, Cryptic Caves, Jungle Shrine, which is definitely good, Croson Virgin Mired Landscape, definitely the best land, Naya Panorama, Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, and then, so those are like the okay lands, but it's also got all 3 balance lands, all 3 guild gates, and all 3... Oh. It doesn't have the dual lands. Well, that's good. It's still got the gates, though, so it's not that good of a land base, but still not that fantastic either. Though I will say, though, the gates, they're okay, but only because of Circuitous Route here. It can get you 2 gates. So, like I know in my D-Chef Commander deck, I used to run gates just solely for Circuitous Route. I don't run them anymore. So yeah, it's okay. Overall, my opinion of this deck, it seems really, really good, honestly, for a $25 Commander deck. Like, compared to the $50 Precons that we've gone past, This seems probably as powerful, maybe a bit worse, but it's half the price, but definitely delivers. Especially with that Omnath, Locus of Rage. So this looks like definitely a playable deck, and definitely a good deck. As for Commander, it's good in the deck, but you know, I don't think it's gonna see very much play, honestly, as a Commander. I don't know if it's that great, honestly. I'm not a big fan of Commander. But now, moving on to the Sneak Attack deck, my favorite one. Again, this one has 5 cards down here that we can't think. I think these are part of the Zendikar Rising main set. I'm not sure. So, this deck, as I said before, it's like a rogue tribal deck. It's got lots of unblockable and flying rogues, so you can get through that for that damage. Draw your card, and your commander will allow you to draw your cards. Plus, it has some cards that can allow you to take advantage of the graveyard. So, the stats for this deck. So, mana ramp, it only has 9 mana ramp. Now, most of that is mana rocks, like it's got Arcane Signet, Commander Sphere, Dimir Keyrune, Dimir Locket, Dimir Signet, Mind Stone, and Soul Ring. And then on top of that, it's also got Myriad Landscape. So it's got a lot of artifact mana ramp, and I don't think there's like any creature mana ramp at all. So this deck is lacking in mana ramp, though it is a pretty low curve deck, I think. It doesn't have a whole lot of expensive stuff, but I think it could definitely use more mana ramp. Board wipes, it has 3 board wipes. Well, okay. The first one is In Garrick's Wake, which is a very powerful board wipe. I think it's really great. Could be fantastic in this deck. Like, compared to the other 2 board wipes in the other deck, this one's great. And then there's also, oh, where is it? Yeah, Necromantic Selection. It's 7 mana, but it'll just destroy all creatures, and then you get to return a creature of your choice, put into a graveyard this way, onto the battlefield under your control. So really, really great, because generally if you're board wiping, it's because there's a really powerful threat around. So this will be great to steal that giant threat. So it seems like a nice board wipe. And then the third one, I kind of cheated a bit. The third one's Aetherize. It's kind of a board wipe. Not exactly, but I count it, okay? Just stick with me. It's kind of a board wipe. It could really mess with your opponent, though. It's kind of like a Cyclonic Rift. Anyway, target removal. It only has 6 target removal. Yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot of target removal. Like, it's got Salumgar's Command, which can target removal in many ways. Spinal Embrace, technically. It's got Murder in the deck. Price of Fame. Soul Manipulation, kind of. So yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot of board or target removal. Though it does have some pretty nice ones. Card draw. This is where this deck gets good. It has 12 sources of card draw, but there's also the commander, which makes it 13, and the commander can draw you a ton of cards. So this deck is really good at drawing cards. It's like one of its main themes. Just sneak in with creatures and draw lots of cards. So yeah. Rogues, it has a lot of rogues. I mean a lot. It has a total of 22 rogues, plus the commander 23, and that's not even including these 5 cards down here. These 5 cards can be anything, right? So, it has a lot of rogues. A lot. Definitely is a rogue tribal deck. And I also had another category here specifically for this deck called Reanimation, because this deck actually has a lot of reanimation. Remember how I said it could take advantage of the milling that you are doing to your opponents? Well, it's got some great reanimation spells. So there's a total of 7 reanimation spells. You got Sepulchral, whatever, Primordial. Revives a creature from each of your opponent's graveyard, so it's amazing. Probably going to be really good in this deck. There's Necromantic Skeleton technically reanimates. It's got Endless Obedience and Rise from the Grave, which each do essentially the exact same thing, putting a creature from a graveyard onto battlefield under your control. Okay for a deck. Extract from Darkness, exactly the same, but mills each player for 2. So see, it's got a lot of reanimation. And it's also got Fated Return, which can revive something at instant speed if you really want to, but for a costly 7 mana. Yeah, I think that's it. There's those things, and then plus this card up here, Whisper Steel Dagger, which is not as efficient reanimation, but technically it does reanimate. So it's got a lot of reanimation. But anyway, going through the deck, it's got some great cards. Another card that's like reanimation that takes advantage of the graveyard, Lazav Demir Mastermind. This card I think will be really powerful in the deck, because over the course of the game it can just become copies of different creatures, more powerful creatures, and it's got the hexproof. So if I was playing this deck against, say, my Gisha's Commander deck, just imagine having Lazav on the board, swinging with some rogues, milling like Gauta or something, and then having him become a hexproof Gauta. So yeah, this card looks really nice in the deck. Golem, it's a rogue. It's okay, I guess. I don't know why this is in the deck. I don't know, it's okay, but I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be that great in the deck. Consuming Aberration, piggybacking on that mill strategy, can get really big and mills opponents for a lot. I've played with this card. It mills people for a lot. It is actually a really powerful card. Notion Thief? Yeah, this thing seems like it would be really annoying in Commander, allowing you to draw just so many cards. Yeah, because they just skip the draw and you just draw a card, like, yeah, it's gonna really shut down opponents. Now, a really surprising inclusion is this next card, Una, Queen of the Fae. Quick note, this is definitely not how it's gonna look like in the Precon. It's just gonna have the regular art. This card, I think, is really good in the deck. It mills opponents, yes, into exile, but it can make a ton of fairy tokens. Like if you're milling a monocolor deck, this can get you a ton of fairy rogues, which by the way are rogues. So they're gonna just be rogues and be able to deal damage to opponents. And yeah. This card seems really good. If you're attacking with a bunch of unblockable rogues, your opponent will probably be losing 3 life like every turn. So this can draw you essentially draw you an extra card every turn. And it's a rogue itself. Now the next couple cards are unblockable rogues. So you got Fairy Vandal, which is really nice in the deck. You're probably gonna be drawing 2 cards like every turn. So this is gonna get real big real fast. Being a flash flying rogue, this is a good rogue in the deck. Then after this, there's a hexproof unblockable rogue, another flying rogue, unblockable rogue. This one can gain control of artifacts, so this is pretty nice. Again, more unblockable rogues. This one seems really nice because it can make your rogues unblockable. The ones that aren't unblockable, at least. More unblockable rogues. This is another mana ramp card deck, technically, because it makes all your rogue spells cost 1 less to play. That can be really huge, because a lot of these rogues are really cheap. So, that could be huge. Marshflitter, there's a couple more. Una's Blackguard is a great fairy, a rogue tribal card, making all your rogues more powerful, and making your opponents discard cards. Another rogue. Sir Conrad seems really good in a deck. Again, piggybacking on that mill strategy, dealing lots of damage to your opponents. Could be good. Now, Zealoport, don't get me wrong, this is a fantastic card. Everyone knows this card because it's so fantastic. But I just feel like it's just an odd inclusion in this deck. I don't know, it's just, there's not much sacrificing going on. So yeah, this one can make you a ton of fairies, and on top of that, it could get you an extra turn. Yeah, if you dealt common damage to a player this turn with a rogue, so the prowl cost could easily be cast here, getting you tons of rogues and allowing you to take an extra turn. This card, probably sneakily good. Stolen Identity. This card may not seem that good, but the cipher could be huge. If you put this on an unblockable rogue, you could just be getting a copy of a creature, a token that's a copy of a creature or artifact every turn. So that could be huge. So maybe I'll make a copy of some 4/4 creature, and the next turn he plays a 12/12 creature. Well, now I'll still be able to redeem myself and make a token of that 12/12 instead, and it won't seem like such a big mistake. There's Ingarrick's Wake. Distant Melody can draw a bunch of cards, making all creatures unblockable and drawing lots of cards. Ooh, there's Fact or Fiction. Some great card selection. No, well, not really card selection, but just a great card in general. Artifacts. Most of this is just mana ramp, like mana rocks, but there's Blackblade Reforge, which again, put on unblockable creature, could be really big. Bone Hordes. There's just a couple of equipments, lots of mana ramp, more equipments. There's one enchantment, Military Intelligence, which could probably just be drawing an extra card like every turn. Like if you attack with 2 unblockable rogues every turn, this can draw an extra card. And the mana base, it's pretty decent. It's got, you know, Command Tower, Bounce Land, Guildgate, Gainland, Other Gainland, Myriad Landscape, Rogue's Passage. Get it? Rogue's Passage. And Submerged Boneyard. Plus 15 islands, 15 swamps. So it's an okay mana base. For a 2-color deck, it's okay. It'll do. The funny thing though is that the landfall deck has 37 lands, while the rogues deck has 38 lands. Kind of funny. So after looking at each of these decks, overall, they each seem like they'll probably perform really good. I'm definitely gonna maybe get this. I don't know. They seem like really good decks. Seem really fun to play. I was expecting these decks to be downgraded to regular ones, but these ones seem just as powerful as normal ones. Especially since they kept the Arcane Signet and Soul Ring, still giving you lots of value in this deck. Like those 2 cards alone are $10 probably in total. So the fact you're getting $10 worth of cards already just from those 2 cards and $25 product, amazing. So overall, I think this is a fantastic product. These 2 decks are amazing, and I would recommend definitely picking these up. Like just $50 for these 2 precons to battle against each other, and they're really good precons. I would definitely recommend getting these. So that's the review on these 2 Zendikar Rising precons. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider liking and subscribing, and see you next time.